Today's guest is Samantha Zink. She is a boss babe and the founder of Zink Talent. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I love the boss babe.
Oh, yeah.
Just like hyping it up.
It's just real recognized.
That's probably the best intro I've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome. It's good to have you.
I appreciate it.
So yeah, we're going to talk about dating, entrepreneurship, moving from New York to Los Angeles, as we all have. So what's going on? How's your day going?
I am fatigued. I went to a wedding, speaking of dating and marriage and all the things. I went to a wedding this past weekend and I'm in my 30s. So the wedding was Saturday. What is today, Wednesday? I'm still hungover and exhausted. So I'm just riding the wave.
Yeah, anybody in your 20s, that's gonna be your reality one day, right? It takes 3 or 4 days to recover.
Oh my gosh.
Minimum, right? I know you had a little dress snafu, right, heading into the wedding?
A little what?
A snafu with your dress?
Wait, how do you know this?
Steve does his research, Samantha.
Dude, are you listening to my podcast?
Wait, what?
Wow.
He does his research.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I love that.
But
I did have so my package was stolen. And I had to get a different dress, but the new dress was top notch, very hot. It all worked out.
Love it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
You got rave reviews at the wedding?
Oh yeah. But
Good.
you can't you can't show up the bride.
course
So
not,
it's
yeah.
like you have to be hot, but not 100%.
What color?
Pink, fuchsia.
Shit, that's
close to white.
a little risky.
That's close to white.
Close.
Not even that. I just feel like it's too hot. Like it's like you're really trying to say
Yeah.
something when you wear pink.
Who was the bride to you?
One of my LA friends that I met. And it's crazy because her husband, they were like high school sweethearts, dated all of high school, knew each other from grade school, broke up, kind of did their own thing after college, and then got back together. It's the sweetest love story. It's almost like fake.
Oh.
I'm like, what is this love story? Like, who is marries their high school sweetheart after, separating? So
Especially in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, going to a wedding, does it make you more excited to get married, or you're like, oh, this is too much?
Yes, but to be honest with you, the wedding is less about my potential husband and more about the party. I love throwing events and parties. And so I know the assignment. It's not about us. It's about it's luxury. It's glamour. We're going to be in Italy. It's going to be
For your wedding?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to
So
spend all of my hard-earned all my savings going to be
Why?
taking money for
This is
it's
a
the
touchy
party.
subject for me because my family, I have 3 brothers. 2 of them got married, right?
Mm-hmm.
One had a very, very, very exotic wedding, very expensive. The other one, very cheap wedding, but they're both equally happy.
Yeah.
So for me and Hannah, we're what do we do? And we don't know.
It's your personality.
Yeah.
Are you a simple guy? Do you have a lot of friends? Do you big parties?
Well, here's my predicament. I want to have a good party for her and have her be the star of the show. But I also know how, I'm sure my mom doesn't listen to this, how catty my family is. So they'll dissect the wedding and everybody will dissect the wedding. Mm-hmm. So I want to avoid that.
And what do you mean by dissect it? Make it their own?
I was telling Steve the other day, they just went to $1 million wedding, my parents, and they complained about the food. They complained about the venue. And I'm just like, you even had $1 million. What are you complaining about? Yeah. And that's.
But I kind of love that.
Oh, she's. Yeah, just Staten Island's different.
No, that's amazing.
But for your wedding, you're expecting all your guests to shell out $10,000, right, to go to Italy.
No, I'm just kidding. I will cover it all. No, even my birthday parties. I'll rent out a mansion in LA, and I will drop so much money on it just to bring people together and party.
That is nice.
Yeah. I'm sometimes they forget it's my birthday. It's just one big celebration. But I just love bringing people together. I love the party. I'm always on Instagram and TikTok, so I see these glamorous weddings. And I want it to be over the top, Vogue style.
That's also Instagram's a trap with stuff like that.
Oh,
Vacations
yeah.
and
I'm not a simple
weddings
girl.
Yeah.
So my wedding, and I'm going to have so many bridesmaids too.
See, but you know what I like is that you admit to that.
Oh, yeah.
If you own who you are, then it's good for you.
Yeah, no jump scares with anyone I'm dating. From the beginning, I'm people know, but the thing is I always pay for things. I take care of what I'm interested in. I don't expect other people to.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, as long as you own it and you have the money to do it, it's fuck what everybody else thinks,
I'm excited. But yeah, I know it's about the party. People get married before,
Yeah, well.
And what are you
the
going to get married?
courthouse.
2-3 times tops? You got to do it up, right?
I meant not before in that sense. I meant like at the courthouse, like you're already married, usually going into it. But in LA, maybe that's like true as well.
A couple times. I also feel like, a beautiful wedding is awesome, right? Don't get me wrong. But I think at the end of the day, most people care about the open bar, which should be a given.
For
the
sure.
food. But I will say the food at the weddings I remember, it's like the after food when they bring out like pizza and chicken fingers, chicken tenders.
None of the weddings I've been to have like an after like bar
post-party.
food
Yeah,
situation.
that's always the best.
Yeah, the
Oh,
best
that's
post food
actually
I ever
good.
had was it was Ray's wedding. We left the wedding and there was to go pizza trucks outside, and it was just like fresh pizzas that looked
Yeah, that's what everyone
pizza.
really wants.
And like you went back to your hotel, you were
Wow.
drunk, and you're like, oh, this is amazing.
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
so smart because everyone was starving. We actually got In-N-Out after.
See, like having In-N-Out there.
Yeah, cater it.
That's
Okay,
That's
yeah,
the key.
that's super smart.
yeah. I think
I
the
love that.
what is it called? The cocktail hour. Cocktail hour is key too. It's like all the little bits
Yeah,
and
they didn't have a
pieces.
cocktail hour, so I'm like standing there and I'm like, what do I do? Like, and you don't want to talk to anyone sober, like
Yeah.
small talk. I'm like, just gonna stand here.
Yeah, I feel like the actual meal itself at the table, it's like the most boring whatever part of the wedding.
Yeah.
What were the
Unless
other
it's
things you were saying?
really good. Sometimes it's really good.
Yeah, but I expect it. Like if it's a nice place, I expect it to be somewhat good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it's
that's
really
really true.
booze, food, and music. That's it. Those
Yeah.
three things. If you nail those three things, everyone's gonna have a good time,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna remember any of the other stuff.
So both of
that's
you, would you
true.
be a DJ or a live band?
Live band, but like I want the band or maybe the DJ, but my thing is like I love when they play like instruments that is like Drake, but it's like instrumental.
What do you mean?
Like old school or
No.
The Hangover.
I don't know, like Drake, like hip hop songs,
Okay.
but like instrumental or like on
With the band.
strings with the band,
Okay.
and someone like sings it slow.
You know what I think? I think the coolest thing is I have a friend who plays the saxophone,
Mm-hmm.
and he plays the saxophone to a DJ. And like whenever the
Oh, that's
saxophone
cool.
parts come up, he'll do it, and the DJ will like let him do it.
Yeah,
I think combining them, I think it's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want someone like playing like the harp when I walk down the aisle.
I mean that's nice.
Yeah, that's
sweet.
classy,
I
traditional.
know. And I'm a big speech girl, by the way. So during my birthdays, I have all of my friends line up and like just give speeches about me. So at the wedding, I'm gonna have like a speech line of like all of the guys, girls, family members.
Do they know this?
I'm sure they will expect it.
That's
So
gonna suck the
yeah.
air out of the room after about 2 minutes. Just so you
I'm
know,
gonna break
I'm
it
gonna
up.
tell you this right
okay,
now.
maybe I'll break it up.
You
if
should have a
it's too
video
many people.
confessional booth and have everyone
Ooh,
go
that's
talk
a good
about you
idea.
in there, so you can keep the memories.
Have you seen that before?
No, I just
You just
thought of
invented
it.
that?
Yeah.
That's amazing,
But I'm
yeah.
telling you, if you go more than 2 speeches, people are gonna be like, "Where the fuck?" At?
I know, you're right. Or maybe I'll kind of do it like in and out. Like we'll keep like breaking up the dinner.
Let me plan your wedding. I'll plan your wedding. All right. We'll talk about this off air. All right. So let's talk
Yeah.
about Zink, the company.
Yes.
Zink Talent. The name escaped me for a second. So did you start it in New York and then move here, or did you move here and then start it?
I started it in New York. My background is fashion PR. So I like graduated college, moved to New York. I was in fashion PR, overworked and underpaid, and I was working with influencers on the brand side. And then I swear to God, it was like an epiphany. I was on the subway going to New York Fashion Week and working. I was so exhausted. And I had this idea. And it was like, you need to represent influencers. And so I guess like I am a doer, not a dreamer. Not sure if you listened to that episode.
Saw the title.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Get around to that one yet.
And I just went back to the office and started creating like a brand for myself, started creating my agency, and then taking influencers out saying like, let me represent you. I had all of the skills from being in PR. I just flip-flopped it to the other side, the money-making side. And then I swear to God, this was in like the end of 2017. I walked away from my job 2018 and I blinked and then I had like a whole agency. It was just wild. Like it was meant to be.
And I
Yeah.
guess it's great that you started it pre-COVID, right? Because you probably got to. Did you see a spike during COVID, like with TikTok?
Oh, yeah. No, I like that was like when my company got successful was COVID. So everyone was like jobless and poor and sick and I was thriving. It was horrible, but kind of good. Yeah, they're like, we're getting like the checks. I mean, I couldn't even get checks because I was doing so well.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
no free money for me.
So did you just feel like there was more opportunity to do what you were doing in Los Angeles?
No, I moved here because I had lived so during the pandemic, I lived in New York City and then I went to Florida to kind of like ride it out. And I was like, wow, I kind of love Florida. It's nice to like breathe and like have good quality of, you know, just health and life. But it's too slow for me. I'm such a fast-paced girl. So I just thought about it. I was like, I need to move to LA. I started looking online, found a cute place in Marina Del Rey. And then I went back to New York, got rid of all my stuff except 2 suitcases. And then I was like furnishing my house like with TaskRabbits while I was in New York. And then took my dog 2 suitcases and then moved to LA.
So you had TaskRabbits set up your place before you got here?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, the basics, like a bed, couch, TVs.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I just started building my life. I'm like such a, I guess, impulse person. I don't overthink and I don't like plan things out. If something feels right, I just go for it.
Cool. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, what have you found to be maybe the toughest thing about starting your own agency? Biggest challenge?
Honestly, it's high risk, but I think like with anything, investing or just doing anything yourself, like high risk, high reward. And the people that don't risk it all, they don't really see that high reward ever.
Yeah.
I don't think there has been a challenge except growth. Having employees, like dealing with their emotions, making sure they're okay. You know, I feel like it's kind of like having children. Or a very large taste of having children. And I think that just the growing pains, while it's success, it means I'm becoming more successful. It's also like, how do I navigate this? Like, how do I talk to them? How am I patient? How do I make sure they're always evolving and growing? How do I make sure they're my employees long-term and there's no high turnover rate? So it's just at growing pains, but not like a challenge of any sorts.
Yeah. And is it mostly, would you say like younger, like TikToker type people, or what's the typical client look like, if there is a typical client?
So when I started, there was no TikTok, and we had a large chunk of just influencers on Instagram. Now TikTok is making like the most money. So we are actively signing a lot of TikTokers right now.
Cool.
Because brands, it was kind of like high risk for brands for a while. It was hard to like track success. And now it's just like they want to hop on it and just be in front of Gen Z and just like stay ahead of the curve. So much opportunity, and we're growing like super fast.
Where do you see like maybe the future, like the trends going? Is it still TikTok for a while, or is there anything new coming out?
Yeah, I think TikTok is here to stay for a bit. I do feel like Instagram's gonna die down a little bit. That's what I'm gonna put my money on.
Okay, interesting.
Like it's always gonna be around, but TikTok is just so enormous right now, and brands are so excited about it. So the most inquiries that we're getting are TikTok inquiries.
Yeah, makes sense.
But so now the brands are actually spending more money for the TikTokers to advertise on TikTok?
I wouldn't say a higher budget. I would say like it's kind of lower budget than Instagram was, but I would say there's more inquiries as like a whole, for sure.
Okay, so I know we had a conversation about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we've done both TikTok and Instagram ads, and we've actually done them with you guys. But yeah, I saw more results on Instagram just because maybe it's demographic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can't really see results on TikTok.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so on the purchaser side, it's like we know how many people are clicking, how many people are downloading, and you could hook up all your APIs to Instagram, right? Easily. I know you could do it with TikTok now, but I felt that TikTok was so fast, and it's like 10 seconds, and the content's great, but do people actually pay attention to the content or what the brand is inside the content? And like, that's kind of what I'm more curious about.
Yeah, I mean, just even like myself being on TikTok, outside of just like seeing like home products, home decor, I'm not really like ads aren't really wowing me or like grabbing my attention. Whereas like Instagram, I'm screenshotting, I'm clicking like the brand, checking out the brand or company. TikTok, I feel like you're more so like into that person, the creator, and their personality. So as a brand, I don't really know if you receive a high ROI or an app like yours or like a service.
So now when you represent a TikToker versus an Instagrammer, do you focus on mostly third-party ads? Like, me paying you for an Instagrammer or a TikToker to do a reel? Or is it representing them as a whole where it's like, okay, you have so many views, we're going to get you on external platforms off TikTok, shows and podcasts and all that stuff. So like, how do those align versus the Instagram versus the TikTokers?
Are you saying like when I'm working with brands, like the opportunity for brands?
Like for when I pay you, right? It's like I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars for this reel on Instagram, and we're going to use that as an ad for people to click.
Yeah.
So now when we're saying that we don't know what that traction is on TikTok, and you represent a TikToker, is it more for just representing them as a whole, or are you trying to get them ad placements on TikTok as well?
And then are you saying like outside of them posting, like it's an ad now?
Yeah,
the
like,
video,
like even like with us, right? Like I didn't want to pay for a TikTok ad, but I wanted to pay for an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
Right. So.
I would like just say like using the same video and like cross promoting it across platforms.
Like Troy, right? Troy's a big TikToker.
Yeah.
Do you work with him and a third party for an ad or a reel, or is it more just getting him on podcasts, just getting him brand deals, like where he actually wears stuff?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Sorry, I'm still exhausted for the wedding. Basically, whatever his large platforms are, right now, it's like we just work out brand deals for TikTok, Instagram, and his podcast, but it's just what the brand wants.
Yeah.
So it's like I can pitch brands ideas all day, but brands know what they want. And, you know, if you come to me and you're like, okay, I want an Instagram reel, and then we're going to like boost it or whitelist it. And like, that's what you want. And that's what I'm going to get Troy. But outside of like services for him, yeah, we have travel opportunities, events, and then we have ads across all of his platforms. But it's ultimately up to the brand. I'm the connector, and I pitch my client as a whole. And then you tell me like what you need. And then I let you know, in your budget as well, because the budget looks different on every platform. But yeah, I mean, it's also a lot of like one-offs too, which I feel like aren't successful. This year, we've been seeing so many brands just working with our clients one time. And then I just feel like, why do that as a brand and waste $10,000? You're not going to see an ROI at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, our best partnerships with influencers have been those 3-month partnerships where their audience is so engaged with them talking about the product because it's over and over again. And I guess each time you hear the product, you get a little bit more enticed, and then hopefully eventually you sign up.
Yeah. Well, and for you, it's like you want to work with the same person for months and months and months, ideally until they find their match on your app.
Yeah, and I think...
And it's like a full circle moment.
Yeah. But it's interesting because you say that you rely, or the influencer relies on the brand to kind of dictate the messaging.
Yeah.
And we always talked about, say we partner with Troy or someone else you've given us, I more rely on them to figure it out because I would think, and I like to say, they know their audience best, right? So if I tell them, make a reel like this, they're going to be like, okay, but that's not going to work. Why don't I make the reel like this? And I know my audience is going to like that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like brands are definitely dictating like the message, what the video looks like. Everybody provides us with briefs and guidelines, and then the influencer creator will kind of just put their twist on it. But I do feel like a lot of the brands, especially larger brands, know exactly what they want it to like look and sound like.
And they play it really safe usually.
Yeah, I feel like
corporate guidelines.
Years ago, they let the creator have like more control, but I do feel like brands are being like, it needs to look like this, sound like this, and there's a lot of like back and forth, and like you need to change this, you need to do this, but
I remember the first ad we ever ran with the influencer. It wasn't with you, so no worries.
But you're about to like
Well, it was my first taste of actually doing it.
Yeah,
a partnership, and we were in the process of writing out the contract, and I told my team like, don't tell her to do anything until the contract is signed.
Mm-hmm.
So that day I saw that she added us, and I went on her Instagram, and there was a reel about First Rounds on Me, and it made no sense. Like it wasn't how the app worked. It was the wrong messaging, and I was like, why did she do that? And she's like, I don't know. She just went rogue, and I was like, oh, she just went rogue, and I made her take it down. We didn't pay her. It was this whole big thing.
And there was no contract in place?
No.
Did she have management?
No, we were in the middle of doing it, and and she was like, "I want to be paid." I was like, "Paid for what?" Like, I told you to take it down. We didn't have a contract.
Yeah.
I eventually paid her, but
no,
it was just
really
like she went rogue.
Yeah, that's why you need management, because we would never move it forward unless there's a contract in place.
Yeah, and I see that. Like that's why I think your company and like working with you is so much better, because there's like a business structure to it. Yeah. And this protocol is in place, right? Mm-hmm. So it's way better than some random rogue person.
Oh, you live and you learn. I mean, we've definitely trial and error. I mean, we've always had contracts and we were buttoned up, but there's been some hiccups,
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're just, being buttoned up throughout the entire process, because sometimes brands don't pay us. And then it's like we need to like show our attorney like it was signed by us, signed by them. This is what we agreed to. Here's the communication. A lot of brands just think they don't have to pay agencies.
See, to me, that's shocking. And I hear that all the time because I pay all the
Joe's
bills.
incredible about that.
Like
Oh,
2
well, we
weeks or a
love
month.
that.
Like that month I pay it all. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so shocked you paid. Like Macy's won't pay us for like 90 days. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's shocking to me, especially when you're working with smaller startups and boutiques when that money's important, right? Like you have to then give that to the influencer and then keep the lights on and pay all these people. I find it fascinating that
pay for the wedding and
Pay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, big responsibility brands. Come on.
yeah.
So we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and trying to do something you're passionate about or bringing passion to what you do. How did your life and your mindset change? Like once you left the corporate job where you were kind of probably soul sucked and then started doing your own thing, like did you feel like kind of like a new lease on life, or how did that go for you?
It's crazy because I came into such a confident person. I feel like I was just trying to like kill it in my job, and I was just people pleasing, and I just, even in relationships, like I felt like I wasn't like the confident one, and I wasn't really owning things. But then I started my own thing, and it was like I finally came into like confidence in every single area of life. And my friends say it all the time. They're like, you're the most confident person ever. Like if I want to go to a bar, I'm not waiting in the line. Like we're going to just walk right in, and they let me in because I exude confidence. I'm like, it is what it is. But starting something of my own, it was just like I came into like myself more. I came into like my late 20s, early 30s, and it brought me fulfillment, happiness. People always talked about like finding your purpose in life, and I was like, what is that bullshit? Like, what is purpose? And my company will always trump everything, relationships, everything, because I've not had this feeling, with anything else in my life. Like finding fulfillment where you feel full. It's crazy. And now I'm like, I get why there's so many like billionaires in the world or like CEOs who aren't in relationships or married, because like they really do have that sense of fulfillment from this one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's healthy, but I'm just saying you have this, like you are full and so happy, and like you don't have to take days off. I've never taken a day off, and I don't like need to.
Did you? Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that, I think it can be healthy, certainly can be healthy, as long as you don't let it run your life in a negative way. But I also think that if you can have something that you're so into and passionate about and that you care so much about, if you're fulfilled, like I feel like that's a necessary thing to go into a relationship, like to be, to have all this, that you don't need happiness from the other person. You're kind of doing it to kind of come together and make each other better and make your lives better, but you don't need that person. So I think it's very important to have something like that on your own.
And I do feel like you need to find somebody who understands your life. This didn't make sense to me until I had my own company and employees and all these things. But I can't date somebody and have a normal relationship ever. Ever. Because my time is like, I don't have enough hours in the day. So they need to understand that and not feel insecure or even about the money being made. I feel like you have to date a certain person who understands this lifestyle of yours and understands like that this means everything to you, and like they fit into your life and they're not jealous, they're not competing. And like they understand, like they have their own lives. You can't have someone like being like, oh, I have no friends, like need to be with you all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't have time for that. I need you to have your own life and your own job and your own dreams. Or else it's not going to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And well, thank you for taking the time to do our podcast with the schedule. We appreciate that. Yeah.
No, it is. Well, I mean, it's nice getting out of the house, but this is part of my job.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the cool part, right? Like doing a podcast is part of your job.
This is brand awareness. That's
we're
PR.
working right now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I could heavily relate on like the relationship versus the founder CEO mentality, right? Like, there were times where Hannah was like, "You're choosing the app over me. Like, you think the app's more important than me?" And I said, like what you just reiterated, like the app is always going to be what takes up the most brain capacity and most fulfilling part of my life in a different way, right? Like my love for you, nothing's going to trump that. But yeah, I'm never going to have a day off. I'm always going to be thinking about the app, what could make the app better. And it took like when we really started to connect, it was when she was so confident and comfortable to be like, I know that you're going to do the app and just make sure you carve out enough time for me where I still feel seen and heard. But on our wedding day, I worked. Like I went to Soho House, worked right after we said I do. Steve was there. We went to Soho House and worked. And it was just like, if you don't work that hard and put everything you have into your company, there's a good chance it's not going to really work out. So finding that partner who's okay with that is like the biggest decision you'll ever make.
And it is hard because a lot of people say that you need to a lot of entrepreneurs say you need to time block your life and even your family. It sounds so silly, like time blocking time for your children. I mean, it sounds sick, but you really kind of have to.
Yeah, well,
like this child gets an hour at 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's true. And the cliche of like your startup is your baby.
Yeah,
it's so true. Like you treat the company like it's the most important thing in the world because to you it is, right? And if that succeeds, everything else in your life is going to be where you want it to be, which makes your relationship better, makes your kids' life better. And it's all starts with, your little baby.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe as I get older, it'll change. Maybe I won't want to be so hands-on, but it's still newness. And I think for you too.
Yeah,
I feel like our companies are still very new to us where it's exciting and we're growing rapidly, both you and I. So maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road, we're like,
yeah, and we have people like to do all that stuff for us.
I don't need to be as like type A and hands-on anymore. And I can spend more time with my family and my partner.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to put it, like the newness, right? And I saw something today where it's like, if you have the opportunity to make your passion a career where you make money off of it, you're so lucky, right? Because a lot of people have passions, and it's important that they do their passion, right? You're gonna have a job where you're gonna make money, and like that's gonna be the way you live.
Yeah.
But it's important to also have a passion. And then if your passion is what makes you money and is what you do every day, not many people could say that.
I know, it's crazy. And I do feel like you need to find a partner who has their own passion. Because if they're a simple person and they're in that like 9 to 5 world, I don't know if that would work. Yeah. Because it's like I need somebody who is like, where we're not competing in a sense, but like power couple.
Yes.
Like that's what I want.
Yes, definitely.
Where like you're taking over, I'm taking over 2 different things, 2 different avenues. And like that shit is hot to me.
Yeah, I saw a couple the other day. They were a power couple, and one was in New York to do an event with us, and they lived in DC. And the husband was with the son, babysitting in DC. And then he had to go to Europe, so she had to get back because it was her turn to babysit. And then they just kept traveling and making sure that someone was with the baby.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that. Not to an extent where like you never see each other because that's not healthy. But ideally you do have time apart, of course, because that's healthy, but like you're able to do things together and travel together. And I'm a big traveler too, so I couldn't date someone who's like in an office or stuck somewhere because I'm always every single month or every few months like going somewhere, and I want my partner to be like able to have that freedom as well and the money. And it's like, and I don't want to pay for a guy. That's a big thing for me. It's like I don't want to like take care of a guy either. So you have to have your own money, and to like if we can go even.
You want the male version of you.
I do.
That's it.
Yeah, I really, or, they don't have to be like a CEO, but like you have to have money that you're able to do like fun things in your life before children. Like we should be traveling and like living our best lives.
Yeah. Do you want children?
Yes. But again, it's like the company is my baby. I feel like I didn't start living until I turned 30. It's the craziest thing. But in New York, I didn't realize this, but like I was broke. I feel like I had this like pretend money in my mind, but like I was working at jobs where like I didn't know, but like I was not making enough money to survive. So when I turned 30 and I started, coming into success and having money, I, just my home and my things and everything, like now I'm like, wow, I finally just started living. So a lot of people, they want children at 30, but for me, I'm like, I feel like my 20s was just being broke and like confused and figured stuff out. So now I need to enjoy it for a little bit longer.
Sure. And how do you define success?
It's not, when I was talking about it there, it definitely was like a wealth, mention of like, oh, I have money to do like really cool things now. But success to me is like my employees because I see the money they get. I mean, it's crazy. One of my employees, like the amount of money she makes at 23, I mean, I was nowhere near it. And it's because of me. And that is fulfillment and that's success for me. And them being happy in their career and not leaving and feeling fulfilled, that is what has brought me success.
That's awesome.
In like a different term, their happiness.
That's great.
I think that's why they say your 30s are your best decade. Because
Do they say that?
Yeah, I think they say like
because it's
in
true.
life, 30s is the best decade because in your 20s, you figure out what your career is, you figure out who you are as a person, and then hopefully you take all that, and then when you get to be 30, you kind of dictate your life of where you want it to go, like you did, right? Like I did, I think like Steve did, like Ryan. Well, Ryan's always been that way. But yeah, I feel like the 20s, you don't know who you are as a person, you don't know what you're passionate about for a career.
Yeah.
And when you're 28, 29, you've been doing it for say 7 years, you're like, okay, this is what I like, this is who I am. Let me try and do something that actually fulfills me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think the 30s, my 30s have been the best. Yeah,
like the best.
Yeah,
every
I
year
love
gets
it.
like better. It's
I always
insane.
say that, right? I have friends who are like, oh, we're 34 now, we're 33 now. You know, we're getting old. Life sucks. I'm like, no, like 32 was amazing, 31 was amazing, 33 is gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited for the next year. Yeah.
They're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. And like, I finally, to your point, is like, I didn't know who I was. And like, even when it comes down to like hobbies in my 20s or priorities or like, even like who I liked for an
apartment. Too. I was a big people pleaser in my 20s.
Me too.
I was like, I want everyone to like me. Now I'm like, you don't fucking like me. I don't give a shit.
Like you have to get like every party, everything. And like now I say no and like I do what I want to do. And I've like found what I like to do in life. I remember I was like 23 or 24 on a dating app and it's always like, what are your hobbies? I swear to God, I didn't know. I had none. I was like, what are my hobbies? I like go to the club every night. What do you mean? Like, and now I'm like, wow, I have actual hobbies that I can write out like where I didn't have those before.
And I think it just makes people more attractive, right? Like if you were on a dating app and you wrote, my hobby is, you know, being the founder of my company and I'm really passionate about all this stuff, people would be like, wow, that's really powerful. As opposed to, I like going to the club every Saturday night. It's like, all right.
Well, I didn't actually write that down.
I know, but I'm saying if you don't have anything else to write.
Like you have nothing to offer.
Yeah.
But also, I do have to say, being the CEO of a company has its downfalls in dating.
Oh, I can.
Because guys are intimidated on dating apps or like just even going out with them because guys want to feel masculine. And if they're not making the money or having like, I guess, the success that you do in any sort of capacity, they don't want to date you. They want to date women that they can take care of, essentially. So I did find that like when I was on dating apps.
But how do you feel about that? Like,
I mean, it's shit. I'm like, you don't have to pay for me. This is good. This is good news for you.
Of course you want somebody to enhance you, right?
Yeah.
But would you be okay dating somebody who didn't make as much money as you?
Well, I mean, that's like been the case.
But you're okay with that?
Yes. Another thing is I date younger. Okay. I guess that's my own fault. So it's like if they're not making more money than me, but that's why.
Why does that happen?
I don't know. I've always dated younger guys.
Because usually it's the opposite.
Yeah. I don't know. Even in college, my boyfriend was like 2 grades below me. Oh. Ever since college, it's just like I've always dated, not like substantially, creepily younger, like 2 to 3 years. Okay. But also,
you're a cougar.
No, I think cougar's like 7+ years.
Oh, is that the cutoff? Okay.
I made that up, but I'm going with it. Yes, thank you.
Like 15 years.
Well, let me ask, I do have a couple questions actually. Mm-hmm. So, the fact that you make a lot of money and you pay for yourself, how does that relate to like a first date? Do you still expect the guy to pay?
See, I go on a lot of business dinners and take my clients out. So automatically, I'm always like, it feels weird for people to pay for me. And I don't know if it's because I take a lot of people out for my job and I'm always paying for my employees. And so I don't know. I always think like I need to pay. It's like I'm brainwashed or something. I don't know.
So are the lines ever blurred between what's a business dinner and what's a date?
No, thank you. That was a good one. But I feel like the guy wants to feel masculine. But then it's like I feel so weird about it because sometimes I know I make more money than them. And then it's like they want to feel masculine and I feel bad. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. But, obviously I do want to be taking care of it in a certain extent. I don't need guys buying me handbags and that like crazy stuff. But like paying for dinners at first, and then we'll like split it, or like I pay, you pay. But yeah, it is kind of hard. I'm always like dishing out my card because I feel weird. I don't know. Well, I guess you pay for your wife, but business dinners, it's like the mental.
Yeah, it's different for
thing.
me. Like even if I was out with a female friend, I would always kind of
cover. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of just, I don't know, old school way. But do you want to be with somebody who's more like, you're a very powerful woman, right? Do you want to be with someone who's more powerful than you?
Or I don't know, because like, will I be jealous?
Right? Like,
if I'm not alpha anymore?
Yeah, like, do you want to be the alpha female, or are you like, nah, it's unattractive if the guy's not?
See, it's so hard because I've never experienced it.
You're always the alpha in the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Well, maybe like that's when, you know how you were saying when you find that person, you'll know right away? I think maybe you'll meet someone who's like an equal, and you're like, who's the alpha? And that'll really intrigue you of like.
Or like we complement each other, you know, in that. And I feel like I don't know, when you find like the right person, you don't overthink all of those things, right?
100%.
It's like, it's kind of like, whatever, I'll just pay for whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely. It's hard. Dating is like really confusing, especially with like different jobs and just like being in LA in general. So it's like you don't know until you've had like a little taste of like both sides of it.
Yeah, I feel like if you're single, dating and your career are kind of like what occupies most of your life, right? Like if you're single, obviously you want to meet people or connect with them. If you want to be in a relationship or not, you still want to have the opposite sex around. And then the other part is like, where's my life going to go with my career? So I feel like if you get both of those things figured out, then life's pretty easy after that.
I feel like that was more so in New York. When I worked in PR, I never thought that way. I had all the time in the world to date. I was like, that is a priority. I'm going to have a boyfriend. And I was dating finance guys. And they're like, well, I'm at the office until midnight, or I have to work. And I'm like, how do you not have time for me? Like, I'm making you a priority. And so I didn't get it until I was on like that side of things. And then I was like, oh, I get what it's like to want to like be successful, and you're actually busy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think in New York, like all the guys are just like, they're so busy with their job throughout their 20s and early 30s. LA's a little different from what I've seen. And then women in New York, like they're not really busy. They're like prioritizing men and like trying to get in a relationship. But there's not a lot of relationships because men are trying to like become successful in their company, especially around 26, 27. I think that's like a monumental age for men in their like company, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I was a finance guy. I worked from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. every day. It was very tough.
7 p.m.'s not bad. Did you like stay like later?
No, I was straight 12 hours every day. But I mean, after 4 or 5 days,
you're exhausted.
Yeah, and then you're going to go out at 7 with your friends.
And you're like sitting at like the table with your date, and you're like, you can't speak.
Yeah, you just can do nothing.
You're like, there's nothing going on.
How do you feel dating in LA versus dating in New York?
I've always been a relationship girl, by the way. So I've always found it easy in both places. I don't know why. I feel like because I am a relationship girl that like, I don't treat guys like I'm waiting for them to text me. They're going to make the moves. I don't know how to handle this. I'm overthinking it. I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket. Like, I'm like, okay, well, you bring me on a date and then we'll go to dinner. And then like, I say like, come over and like, we'll cook dinner together. And then the guy is like, attracted to that because it's like feels like home and feels like his mother in a sense. Yeah. I don't mean to do it. I don't have a game. It's just who I am. And then we start hanging out every day and start dating like after a few weeks. It's always been
the proactive initiator is very attractive.
The case. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even try. It's just I'm used to being in relationships where like I don't want to go to a bar and chat with you. Like my, previous boyfriend, we would do this and that feels like fun for me. Or we'll go like sit on a beach and drink rosé. Like that's fun for me where we connect on a deeper level. But from judging from my girlfriends, all my friends are single in New York, and all of my friends are like engaged in LA. So I think that says a lot.
Wow, that's
yeah.
I didn't expect that. Okay.
Yeah.
What were you thinking it was gonna be the opposite?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I feel like big cities are all very similar. There's a lot of options, so maybe more single people. But yeah, I always thought that more people in New York are in relationships than LA. I feel like everyone in LA is single.
Really?
I mean,
I don't know.
people
I feel like
I
New
don't
York has
see
more of
that.
like the Sex and the City vibe, where it's just like everybody's sleeping around and no one wants to commit. I think we
That's
kind of
so
got that vibe from
true.
Jordan, like not from her in particular, but like saying her friends were all
Yeah.
single and like, especially in the summer, I feel like everyone like kind of keeps
But do
that.
you think that LA is a big relationship place?
I don't know.
I just feel like the big cities is a lot of single people.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot, but I know I don't know. I feel like it's a mix.
Yeah.
Healthy mix. Do you feel
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
being a relationship girl is kind of an identity versus like something you do? Like, do you feel like let's say you break up with someone, you're like, oh, I'm a relationship girl, I have to get into another one, or is it like,
I don't even try. It's like
but I'm saying like, do you-
attracted
if
to me.
okay, because I feel like there's a difference between like a pattern of getting into relationships quickly versus like if you identify as a relationship girl, you may not even be able to be single. Like, do you think there's a difference there? And
So I think it's a pattern of my behavior, and I know it happens every time where like I can't keep anything to myself. My friends are like, you don't age because like you're never stressed out. You say like what's on your mind, and that is so true. So like if I'm seeing a guy and I bring up the dating apps, or like I say, like we've been dating for X amount of time, like we should be in a relationship. Like I say it straight out, and they're like, okay. And usually we're drinking, so they like have no choice in the morning. They're like, all right, we did this. All right. And then we date for 2 years. I'm just honest. I don't like wait around for a guy to like ask me to be in a relationship with him. Like I know what I want. But also I do have to say, I wish I was more single in my 20s. Because I don't have crazy dating stories. Like I just feel like I should have got it out of my system. But I didn't have
Why do
that.
you want a crazy dating story?
Not crazy, but like I just wanted the experience of like going on dates and meeting men and not being always like in relationships and stuff. I don't
Yeah, I
know. I
mean-
just feel like that's a key part of like your growth as a person.
Yeah, I would say especially in New York, being single, it makes it so much more fun because every night it's like the excitement and anticipation of you don't know what's going to happen, right? Whether and you can use a dating app.
Where am I sleeping tonight?
Yeah, seriously. And even like on a work night, you wake up at 5 a.m. and you just try and sneak out and go to the office. It was really fun, and exciting, but also there's so much to do in New York, and I felt like the only way to do it was like through first dates. Like just figure out, okay, I want to try this restaurant, I want to try this bar, and you kind of just did it through the dates. So I kind of get what you're saying about that 20s excitement with all these new adventures.
Exactly. But then again, like I said, I came into my confidence more of like who I am in my 30s. So me in my 20s, like sometimes I would get a little too drunk on the date and I didn't really have a lot to bring to the table and talk about. I'm like, I worked for people. I didn't really have a lot of hobbies. Now I'm like, if I had a first date, crush it. I would almost too crush it.
Do you think that if you did date a lot in your 20s, do you think you would have wasted too much time waiting in line before you came into your confidence? Like, do you think that would have been a problem?
Yes, because I feel like when guys aren't committing and you're dating guys and more guys and more guys, it's like, what's wrong with me? And why aren't these dates turning into a relationship? For me, at least, I'd be like, wow, I have all these dates, but like no one wants to like wife me up. But I think I came into my confidence as well because I'm like, wow, I go on dates and they do wife me up. So I'm not second guessing myself. I know that like I am a great girlfriend and I know like people want to be in a relationship with me and not just hook up with me.
And I'm sure it's so reassuring to know if you wanted to be in a relationship, it would happen in 2 seconds. So it takes so much pressure off of you, where a lot of people, both men and women, they're trying because they don't know if they can get into a relationship and like, okay, the next thing that comes around, that's it. And I know I'll be, locked up and I'm good. But having that reassurance is nice.
But a learning I had is I wish I got to know the guy more.
In what sense?
Not a particular guy, but all of the guys that like I rushed into the relationship before I truly knew who that person was. So after a few weeks, after a few dates, and then, I start dating him and then it gets serious. And then I'm like, whoa, jump scare, you're a psychopath, or you're not ready for a relationship, or just these things keep popping up. So a learning now that I have is like, I wish that I dated that person longer than I did before we got into a relationship so I could see who they truly are.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you wait too long, then it's like, oh, he's a fuckboy, like he's not committing to me.
Yeah.
But if you don't wait long enough, then you don't know the person.
And that was me. Oh my gosh. And then things keep then I find out he's controlling or he is, cheating or messaging other girls or we're actually not compatible. So I wish like I was able to get to know that person dating before just getting extremely serious with them.
Yeah, I think that's fair assessment.
My learning of of my 30s.
So I do want to talk a little about your podcast and some of the advice that you give out because I think it's great.
Yeah.
But I want to go back real quick to the idea about time blocking, especially you two, since you're both, running companies and very busy and in relationships. Like, do you think that time blocking is useful? Because I've also read something maybe in the past like month or two that talked about couples who time block sex even, or it's like, we have a sex date or we have, this very specific. Do you think like that is useful, right? As a practical tool to help a relationship? Because I also think that the kind of word behind it or the idea behind it is intention, right? And we always talk about intention and intentional. I think having a plan like that is very intentional. And I think you need to be intentional in a lot of ways in relationships, in addition to being spontaneous. But what do you guys think about the time blocking as a useful or not useful tool?
I actually don't time block, do you?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, right? I would say being single versus being married is very different. Time blocking for me, I don't want to say time block. Time blocking sounds very rigid. So I would say,
I'm envisioning my like calendar that's like.
But it is time blocking because when Hannah and I were first serious engaged, everything was the app, right? And then say 2 weeks would go by and she'd say, we haven't been on a date in 2-3 weeks. And I'm like, oh shit, like you're right. So then it was like communication of saying, okay, every Saturday we're going to have a date night, right? Every Sunday we're going to watch TV and not be on our phones, right? And you want to do that because you want to be present with the person that you love. So time blocking for me definitely does work, where it's like I tell her from 9 to say 6 every day, just pretend I don't exist. Like just pretend.
It's a long block.
If there's a fire, just get the fuck out.
Because there were times
Grab
like
my
I'd go
stuff.
home, right? And she'd ask me important questions and I would give her such a deer in headlights answer. And she's like, I cannot believe you answered that way. I'm like, I have so many things on my mind right now. So in a sense, I do time block that 9 to 6. Don't ask me anything important. Like if you're in trouble, I'll help you, but let's not get too deep.
Yeah.
From 6 to 8, I relax. We have dinner together. We like talk about our day. Then maybe I'll work more during the week from 8 till midnight till we sleep, right? But then once the weekend comes, Saturday's our day. Like no work, unless something urgent or there's an event, no work. Like just her and I. And then Sunday I'll like prep for the week. But yeah, to answer your question, for me personally, time blocking works a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually are time blocking. But what about your friends? Like, what if you want to hang out with your friends instead on Saturday? Because I feel like there's a lot of relationships that people drop their friends and only hang out with their partner. And I don't know if that's like super healthy. For me, it's not. Like, I have to like send like the boyfriend, you do something this Saturday. Yeah. It's healthy for me to do my own thing.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I always talk about Steve. So Steve Harvey had this saying, not that we agree with Steve Harvey, but because he's been divorced how many times? 5, 6 times?
I don't even think it's the divorcing it's the cheating that gets me.
Well, what he said, I personally liked a lot, where it was like 5 days in the week you break down where one day is it you and your person, right? A date night or something that you guys do together. One day is that person goes out with their friends, right? And maybe you stay home and it's like you're on your wife's night. One night it's you and your friends. You guys go out, do your thing, and you're not with your wife. And then there's a night where you guys all do something together. And then the other night, so you kind of just do whatever and relax. I think it's super important. Like I'm always trying to make sure I hang out with them. Like Ryan's only here for a few months. So it's carving out that time where I want to hang out with them separate. I want to hang out with them with Hannah, but then also knowing that she comes first, right? So it's like, hey, what's our time of the week, right? And then based off of that, then I could kind of put everything else into order. So if she was like, listen, Saturday night, I want to go on a date with you. It's like, okay, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But then I would say, okay, Friday I'm going to go out with the boys, and Sunday we could all do something together. But to answer your question, it's super important to kind of not neglect your friends, because then you're just a shell of yourself and you just exist with one other person.
Yeah. Well, I had to ask because you're like,
No, it's
and
a great
then
question.
Saturdays are it like for
No,
her.
it's a great question.
I'm like, I hope you're seeing your friends too, because I just know from experience it's so healthy not to just only hang out with your spouse. Like you have to be out with friends and family and by yourself, like taking yourself on dates. I go to restaurants alone. I go to the movies alone. Like I have to like sit with myself a lot.
Yeah. So for me, my self dates are hikes, like twice a week.
Oh, good.
I'll go. It's Runyon, which is whatever, but like I just know how long Runyon takes. And I know I'm not there. I'm not there for any particular reason, just other than I'm going to go on this hour hike. I'm going to think. I'm going to be alone, and then when I'm done, I got a little bit of exercise, a little bit of meditation. I was outside. It fulfilled me. I'm good. So those are my like
your alone time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is like working out too. I'll like go to workout classes. And I'm like, I'm alone. But like the older I get, I have to be, I call myself like an introvert extrovert now. I'm like, I have to like sit with myself. Like no one can be around me because I feel like I have to like refuel to like see people for work and see whoever, friends and stuff. So like I have to like sit by myself in my home and like cook myself dinner, like take myself on dates.
Yeah, I think even when with coworkers, right? Like Steve and I try and find a balance of when we're going to work together, when we're going to work alone, when we're going to go to the office. And I think all three are great, right? Like you want your alone time to like just focus and get so much shit done. Yeah. Also be creative in your own head. Then you want to work together because you collaborate. It's so much easier to collaborate when you're together. And then we have an office too. So we'll go to the office and like kind of just mingle and make sure we're present with everybody. Yeah. But I think breaking that down to something you're comfortable with is super important as well.
Yeah. I think that's an ambivert is a combination of extrovert and introvert. So
thank you for that terminology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use that if you want.
I will start using it. It sounds like way more intelligent. So
I don't know.
We'll go that route.
Or maybe I made it up. I didn't make it up. But yeah, it's important. I like to buy myself coffee and open the car door for myself, you know, all the good stuff, and just treat yourself really well.
Yeah.
So you started a podcast, right? And I think you're pretty good about doling out relationship advice and dating advice to your friends. And is that mostly from personal experience, or do you study this stuff at all, or how did you kind of get into that part of the podcast?
Yeah, that's a good question. So
thank you.
So my podcast setup is a little different. It's less conversational and more of like I think you guys do have questions in your head, or if I do it by myself, I swear to God, I don't prep anything. Like when I do it by myself, I have like just a subject and then I grab like the mic and then I just talk for an hour. I don't even, it just flows. Like I don't have any like notes prepared.
Is it kind of like Troy's where he's sitting there and just
I feel like Troy kind of like preps his.
You do?
Well, Troy's podcast is also like 10 minutes, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
No,
well, I think it's very.
I saw one.
Yeah, I think
he's like, here's 10 things, and then it's over. Like, I go like full like TED Talk. Like, I actually come into like a different person. It's so crazy. And I'm like, whoa, where'd 40 minutes go? And who was I talking to? Like the abyss? Yeah. And so I don't prep anything, and it's just kind of like it's coming from my like confidence and experience. And I always think of like, who am I speaking to? And I always want to think I'm speaking to Gen Z and acting as like an older sister.
Who is Jen? Is she
what?
Jen's your sister?
Gen Z.
Oh, because I thought you meant.
I thought you were making a dad joke.
No, he is making a dad joke.
I mean, Gen Zink.
Wait, is
Gen
he?
Zink.
Yeah.
You said Gen Z. Last name is Zink.
Samantha, I'll tell you one thing. I've known them my whole life, but when we first got reacquainted here in LA a couple of years ago, he would do just what he did to you, and I'd be like, and they would laugh, and I'm like, did you make
like,
a
you
joke?
Don't know
and like, no, and I'm just like, that's weird.
Yeah, like your dad jokes, like you can't
he's dad
tell.
joking the shit out of you.
All right, well, that's good to know. No. I'm like, yeah, just like a younger audience that just doesn't have the experience and needs guidance. So yeah, I grab the mic and just like whatever is in my mind, I run with it. I don't edit anything.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it feels powerful. I've always had, even when I worked for people, like they would make me do all the phone calls because I kind of have this like this voice and confidence with like what I'm saying. Like they'd be like, Samantha, call all the media. And I'm like, oh, hello.
I feel like that's Steve for us.
Really?
Yeah, like he's got like a very perfect voice. He's very stoic and confident.
Yeah.
Whereas when I speak, I'm just like all over the place. I get excited and I rush and I'm just like,
I get excited.
Chill.
Yeah, so I kind of always had that in me. And then when I started the podcast, I'm like, it's just I do really well at it. But the biggest thing is like thinking of like my next episode. But it comes to me, I don't know about you guys, or I guess you have mostly guests on. Do you guys do episodes just you two?
Very rarely.
Yeah,
I think
almost
we've done
never.
2 or 3.
But like thinking of the content each time, it's hard.
So I'd have to say, like, each time we do an episode, he does a lot of homework on the guest because I think that makes it go so well. Where like what we want to do is have a free flowing conversation, right? Like that's the best. But he makes sure there's no hiccups, right? Like if there's a pause or we're like not going where we should be going, he has all these questions that bring it back, but also personal things that make it where the guest is excited to talk about those things.
And you're just here to vibe.
Yeah, like he has it all structured, and then I'll kind of just riff with the guest.
Yeah.
And then he'll like
it's like one
bring
of those,
it back in.
Yeah, it's like prep
That's
as much as
good.
possible, write questions, and then put them away, and then only look at them if you need to. Is kind of the thing. But I think the important thing is when you do a podcast, it's like for good ones anyway. For a podcast to be good, the person really has to know what they're talking about, and all the stuff. At least for me, like dating, relationships, like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm learning as we go.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have a lot of questions. But I think if you are somebody who knows a lot about your subject matter, the podcast goes that much better, and it just flows, and you can really talk like. You know, because Joe and I are both learning about the stuff, but if he was to sit here, especially and talk about like the app or what it takes to start a company, he could probably talk for 3 hours and it would be great, right? More so, maybe I don't know if you have maybe Seinfeld. Like, what's a subject that you can talk for hours, right?
I have sports probably.
Right, sports.
Yeah.
So like I just feel like that's the key though, is to if you really know what you're talking about, that's when the good ones come out.
No,
so
that
if
is
you're
so
talking about
true.
subject matter that means a lot to you and that you know a lot about, that's gonna make it night and day better than if you just started trying to talk about something random.
But do you like having guests, or do you like doing it on your own?
I feel like it's a huge commitment either way. It's always like I do one a week. Do you guys as well?
We're supposed to. We do like 6 a month. So
So I stick to the one a week,
Okay.
and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta film a podcast or I gotta go in studio. It's like it really is a commitment for sure. It's like another job. But
consistency is the key though. Go on.
I like to have guests on, but also I really do like my like solo podcasts. But it's nice to have guests on, and they get really excited about it, and just like hearing their story and chatting. And sometimes like when wine's involved, it's like absolutely hilarious. Oh my God.
So do you
I've
always
learned
have
not
wine?
to do, I call it Zink After Dark, and we'll just like chat like this and drink wine. And like, I have to cut like half of it every time. I'm like, can't be that after dark, guys. Like,
That's cool though. Yeah, but I feel like you have a bigger audience and are more established as far as like content and social media goes. Whereas for us, when we first started, no one would listen to him and I. Like we didn't have any platforms.
yeah.
So it was like we needed the guests to kind of enhance us. But then it just got so cool where we were so fascinated with all these guests, where it was like, if we can keep getting guests on, we more so like the conversation than, them helping us get more visible. So it just morphed into that.
Well, and it's just like it brings more like content to your audience, where it's like different people, different walks of life, different experiences. And so every episode is just so valuable for them and like comical and entertaining. My favorite is when people are like, I laughed that whole episode and I was like, fuck yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and I think
Because of my guests and how stupid we are with the wine.
yeah, and I think like that's why so many episodes are so different for us, where it gets dictated by the guest. Like we've had super serious podcasts. We've had podcasts where someone gets drunk and we're like, I don't know if that's gonna happen. But that's the beauty in it. Like we love every podcast because the guest is kind of what creates the vibe for us. Yeah.
Do you guys feel like the podcast and bringing it back gives you fulfillment?
What do you mean?
Like how we were talking about, like our business brings us fulfillment. Do you think your podcast does? Do you feel like kind of like passionate about
how
it?
you mentioned, you're like, I have to do a podcast this week. I rarely feel like that. Like I love just talking to people, especially people who are doing really cool stuff and, are creating their own businesses. So for me, it's exciting. I'm excited to talk to you. We're friends from New York.
Yeah.
And this is kind of our time to talk to. So, and we learn so much. Like talking to you about influencers or starting a business or relationships, I think learning from the guest is what makes it exciting for me to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
nice.
probably the first episode that I wasn't excited about coming
Wow.
into. Yeah. If I'm being honest, I thought this is an
I had to
honest
say,
circle. No,
so
I'm
I
kidding.
spoke to Steve
Were
this
you being,
morning.
is this another dad joke? Are you
No,
messing with me?
I spoke to him this morning and I was like, "Oh, you ready for today?" And he said, "Honestly, I did a little bit of research on her. I'm super excited. Like, she's very, very in depth, very knowledgeable. I really like the vibe she gives out. So that's the truth."
I'm like sweating over here. I'm like, there goes my confidence. Jeez, confidence out the door.
No, but it is one of my favorite things is not knowing the person before we come in. And it not being awkward at the beginning, but just like, oh, we got to get to know this person like little by little, and they have to get to know us.
Yeah.
And then spending an hour and a half together, and then as the guest leaves, like, oh, this was so much fun. I had a really good time. Like when people really open up and you kind of get to know each other well. And it's like, even if because like there's guests I may never see again in my life, right? But like we had a really nice conversation, and the podcast will live on forever, and as long as YouTube lives on. But that's my favorite thing is like not knowing somebody coming in, having a really nice conversation, getting to know each other, and then hopefully they leave with a smile and like, oh, that was really fun.
You know what it's like for me now that I think about it? Because
I love that he's letting it marinate over here while you and I are chatting.
After what you just said, because I haven't gone on a first date in 3 years, every podcast for me is like a first date because you're just saying the excitement of getting to know somebody for the first time. That's kind of why I love it. It's like
that's deep.
Organic first dates for me every time.
Oh.
Yeah. Should we do some...
it's like silent.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
beautiful.
Hannah. No, that's a good way to think of it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll hit you some rapid fire questions.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay. Time for a rapid fire hot seat interrogation presented by Perrier Water. Good choice. Okay. What is the best thing that happened to you today?
Oh my gosh. I guess this interview, getting out of my house, the sunshine.
Nice. Yeah, it did start as a gloomy day, so I'm glad the sunshine came out. But yeah, this has been great. This is a highlight of my day as well.
Yeah, I've been like cooped up like on my laptop all day. So this is. Sorry, I'm not good at rapid fire. I veer.
How do you know? We only did one.
Well, I mean, I'm not quick about it. Like I like chatting, so I dwell on the question.
Don't let him pressure you. It's just called rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. What is the best compliment you've ever received?
Nothing about looks, but like just being like ambitious or driven. I think that's really cool.
Cool. Favorite date spot? LA or New York, anywhere.
Okay, it's kind of crazy because this is one of your questions, but when I brought a guy on a date, because he wanted to do something. Sorry, it's kind of long-winded. And it was the second date and I was like, I don't want to just go to a bar. Like, I'm just so over like the plain Jane dates. So I lied to him and I said like I had a hookup, like a helicopter hookup. I paid for it. And like we went on a helicopter and drank champagne.
For date two.
Like, yeah. I didn't want to go. He's like, what should we do? Well, I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, so I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm just purchasing the helicopter. I was like, oh, I have like a hookup through my company. Let's go do it. And then we were drinking champagne in LA and like flew over like the skyline and everything.
Was he drinking his through a sippy cup? With a sippy top?
No. Well, for me, that would be really contradicting because I would be so turned on by the assertiveness, but I would not go on the date because I would not get in a helicopter.
Okay, I tested the waters a little.
Okay.
I was like, what if a helicopter? And he's like, how much will that be? And I was like, would you do it? He's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And I'm like, oh, it's free. No, it's comped.
But did you get turned off? Kind of going back to what we spoke about before, did you get turned off by his lack of assertiveness in planning?
I feel like guys are so like the guy. I'm just used to it now.
Careful.
They're always like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I know where I want to go and I will tell you. And we're just going to go do that.
So I think there's some reason behind that. I think some guys, I probably did this a bunch in the past, are secretly hoping like the girl will say, oh, I'll just come over and we'll fuck. Like, I'm obviously not that blunt.
Does that happen?
No, but I think that's what guys say. That's what younger guys think is like, if I just leave it open to them,
like,
maybe they'll be
come
like,
over, we'll watch a movie.
Yeah, like they're hoping the woman says, or the girl says that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a younger guy thing. But yeah, I do think there's a problem with guys being assertive.
Right? Or they're always like new somewhere. They're like, I just moved here. I don't know where to go. And I'm like, not another one.
It's a fucking city. There's the same shit.
It's called
cities.
Google.
Yeah.
Open table.
Yeah.
I like ask around.
That has to be the biggest letdown. If a guy says, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go?
And then I step up into my like alphaness and I'm like, you know what? We're going on a goddamn helicopter.
And you're going to like it.
And you're going to like it. And you're never going to know I paid for it either.
I know
Unless you listen to this.
Well, you said on your pod that you first date, you like drinks is good at like a nice like martini bar or something.
I hate when people do dinner first because I don't want you spending hundreds of dollars on me if I'm not going to talk to you again. Or if you don't like me.
Yeah.
I feel like you know if you vibe with someone on the first date. And a lot
Or
of
you
the
definitely know if you
time,
don't, for
it's
sure.
like, do you want to drop, especially if you're 25, do you want to drop $300 or $200 and we never see each other again? No, let's just get drinks and keep it casual.
Date 2 is dinner though.
Yeah, because then we like each other. You can spend a few $100s, fine.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you would like
I
me
think it's
enough to
perfect.
like go on a second date.
I think
so.
that's perfect. You're preaching to the choir, and we say like verbatim the same exact thing. Well,
And
I say that.
and I'm always like nervous. I'm like, am I cutting my steak right? Like my chopsticks. I overthink how I'm eating.
Eating
You eat
dinner
steak
on a
with
first
chopsticks?
date.
No, I'm just thinking of all the first date meals, and like you just want to be so proper, and you're like,
It's such a weird interaction because you're seeing somebody eat, but you want to conversate with them, but you have to like balance not talking with your mouth open.
yeah,
You're like, if this isn't going well, do I have to sit here for the next 2 hours? If this is going well, do I have to like give a hint?
and I don't have an appetite because I'm a little nervous going into it. So I'm like, I'm not even hungry at this point.
I really, really, really liked this girl in New York, right? For our first date, I took her to, do you know 1F by Land, 2F by Sea in the West Village?
Yes.
Yeah, so I Googled like most romantic restaurant
See, thank
in
you.
the city.
Thank you. That's all you have to do.
But we went, and first of all, it was like $500 dinner, which I didn't have, right? So we're at the dinner, and she, when we show up, she's like, why did you book this place? When I thought she'd be like, this is so romantic and amazing. So she was immediately turned off. So then halfway through, when she's already tuned out, the waiter comes over when she went to the restroom, and he goes, what do you want to say on the cake? And I was like, what cake? And he's like, well, what's the occasion? Why are you here?
Oh my God.
And I said, it's a first date. And he's like, what? You took her here on a first date? And I felt so let down. And I was like, okay, never again is there a dinner first date.
Well, that was
It was
really
the worst
awkward.
first date of my life.
You know what girls tell me? My girlfriends are always like, I just want to go. I want it to be chill. Like I want to get like Joe's Pizza and we're just like chilling on the beach. And I'm like, you have fun with that. I would like to go there, by the way. Like I like
amazing.
to go. I like to be wined and dined. I want to dress up. I think that's awesome, especially in New York or LA. Like
It was amazing, but she, I guess, didn't like
she
me
just
enough
wanted
to enjoy
like
it.
pizza and like chill vibes.
I think it was me and like my expectation.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna marry you.
That's
And she's like,
I'm gonna marry you.
all right, dude. Sure.
Yeah, she's like, I thought this was gonna be chill. I'm not dressed up enough for this.
Yeah.
But I love that. Yeah, that's cool. But maybe like, just a bar below that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think
like $300 dinner.
Yeah, I think the idea was good, but going all the way to the top was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you definitely shouldn't have invited her family there. The proposal. That's weird. All right, favorite
Wait,
rom-com.
did you? Okay, I'm sorry. I was like, oh God, who's listening to this?
Favorite rom-com.
Oh my gosh. Not a rom-com, but Cruel Intentions. I like dark, like 90s romance.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you guys seen Cruel Intentions?
Yeah.
Is that not one of like the best movies? I'm
It's
sorry,
great,
it's so
yeah.
good.
Who's the main actress in that?
Reese Witherspoon, Ryan,
Not her.
Philip Hay.
The
Oh,
brunette.
Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Okay.
She looks a little different.
Who's the one with like they have a mole somewhere or something? Or is that different?
Different movie.
Is Cruel Intentions like when they cut themselves and stuff?
No, what movies are you watching?
Is that the
Wait,
The
hold on.
Craft?
Yeah,
or
I was
Stigmata?
thinking, yeah, like
Wait, it might be Stigmata.
where they cut. Yeah, you're thinking of like a witch movie.
13 Reasons Why?
Hold on. You can continue.
All right. What's a movie that made you cry? I feel like you don't cry.
I cry. I definitely cry.
Okay.
There was like the cancer one where the little girl, it was like My Sister's Keeper or something. And like,
Okay. I
it
don't
was
think
like,
I've seen that actually.
it was like from like 2009 and like the little girl, anything with like kids dying or cancer.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Gratefully so.
Okay. Most played song on your Spotify.
Oh my God. Like just like favorite song or like
Sure.
of the moment. Just Morgan Wallen right now is just really doing it for
Yeah.
me.
Last night gets me a lot. I played
Yeah.
it a lot. Go-to karaoke song if you're gonna rock the mic.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Jones, the 90s song.
Of course.
Underrated, I think.
That's a good one. If you could have a drink with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
At the moment, Britney Spears.
Good choice.
I mean, I just want to know, is she alive? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like,
Give us all a wellness
Yeah,
check on
like,
her behalf.
yeah.
That'd be good. Okay, that's a good choice. Celebrity crush.
Austin Butler.
Ooh.
And I actually sat next to him the other day at a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, my one celebrity sighting, and he's like sitting right next to me
Did you say
at. No, I was like shaking.
You didn't say hello?
He's dating. I think he's engaged.
Oh, see, I always do the hello.
He was like with his management team.
One time, Justin Bieber was walking out of the elevator, and I was walking in, and I went, Biebs, and he looked at me, and he was like,
like we know each other.
yeah. I was like, yo.
Yeah, he was so hot, and I was nervous. I like couldn't even, because me, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pretend I don't know him. You know, so then
Yeah.
But yeah, and we'll probably never see him again. But he's hot, super hot. Oh my gosh, he could like gain a little weight. He's like a little skinny.
Do you like him with or without the Elvis accent?
He still has it.
He
I was
does,
listening
right?
to
On some
him, and he
late-night
sounded like
interviews?
Elvis, and I'm like,
Yeah, he's a little twangy.
he's lost it.
Yeah. All right. Do you have a favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
In time, this too shall pass.
Love it. What advice would you give to 18-year-old Sabrina? Samantha.
Good thing this is not a first date, because that would have ended right there.
Was that your last guess?
No, we had a call.
We had a call with her yesterday.
Yeah, and we were doing
The
an event
essay,
with
I
her, and
guess.
it's all mushing together.
Oh my, yeah. I was like, do I know Sabrina? I had the
Well,
client Sabrina.
Would you give it to her? What advice would you give to Sabrina? She's
To just honestly be confident and do not like stay in relationships that are toxic. And like I would tell her so much. And honestly, start your own business like way sooner than you did.
okay.
Like just be confident in every area of life. And if a guy's cheating on you, fucking leave. Don't just like stay thinking he's gonna change.
All right, I'll tell her. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like thinking of myself at 25, and I would like just you find out, and you're like, I'm not going anywhere. They love me. It's like you just stay in toxic relationships, and
Yeah.
now I'm like sayonara.
I love it. Last one. What does love mean to you?
I almost feel like love means to me, like obviously your partners, your soulmates, like you fulfill each other. But also like finding that person that like you go on vacation and like no matter how many years together, like you miss that person like the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like don't settle until you feel that way about someone. That like
Great.
you can't stop thinking about them and you're like, I miss them or this reminds me of them. And like you're obsessed with them. Even if it's year 10, year 20, you're always obsessed. And I think like to me that is like love in its truest form. I want just obsession, but a healthy one, you know?
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. No, I'm glad you added that last part. The healthy.
Like that magnetic
makes sense.
pull and like you feel like, I don't know, they're a piece of you. And when they're
Absolutely.
gone, you're missing that piece. But you also have your own life. See, I'm not good at the rapid fire. I'm just like.
That's not really a right. That's why we put it last. That's why we put it last, because it's definitely the most expansive answer.
But yeah, and love is definitely just honesty, communication, all of the things, balancing each other out, complimenting each other, just.
Beautiful.
And if you could have one law in the world, any law you wanted that everybody had to follow, it could be as crazy as you want it to be. What law would it be and why?
Oh my God, a law that everyone has to follow.
You could make it deep or not
Oh,
deep.
no cheating.
No
I
cheating.
think like, come on. Yeah, like a law. Like leave that person.
Like in school, everything.
Oh no, you can cheat in school.
Okay.
They're doing actually really cool cheating these days in school. I was with a college student the other day, and they actually have like apps where like it'll read the questions and like tell you on a different phone the answers. It's a great time to be in
Well, they
college.
have ChatGPT too.
I don't even know what he was doing, but I was like,
Yeah.
if
You
only
can
I
pretty
had
much do
this tool.
anything. I remember when we were in high school, we'd have to like we'd like put it on paper and then put the paper in our water bottle and then just like drink the water bottle.
I don't know
Or
what
like
it
the
is.
back of your
I don't know what
hand.
you're talking about.
But a lot of people don't go in class anymore. It's like all online. So it's just they use another phone and there's like an app or something that you download and it gives you all the answers.
All right, well,
I actually think I think you could cheat in school. I don't really believe in school.
well,
I can tell you school did not get me to where I am today.
me neither. But in your world, no cheating. So
No cheating on like a person.
What would be the penalty if you cheated on a person?
You can never see them again your entire life.
maybe you'd
It's
want
almost
that,
like they
though.
didn't exist. They're erased from your brain. Like it
No,
never happened.
I think you got to live with that. You got to live with the
Oh,
loss.
You're taking my answers.
Sorry. All right, so we mind
No,
erase.
okay, I like it. Like you feel like that, like pain the rest of your life, the like consequence.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Good,
right.
good. Yeah, it's a good.
And then
caveat.
also that person finds their soulmate like days after and
gets
like
married
moves
right in
on.
front of you.
Yeah. all of the things.
You have to clean up the wedding
this.
afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything exciting coming up for you? Anything you want to plug? Anything you're working on? Where can people find
I'm writing
you?
a book.
Whoa. Jinx.
Wow. Yeah. Forbes reached out to me and I don't know how they found me or whatever, but they reached out and like love my story. And I've had several meetings. And so they're going to publish a book. And I think like probably in a year from now, it'll come out.
Are we going to be mentioned as customers?
Wow. You guys better buy it.
I mean,
Amazon.
We'll promote it.
Yeah. What's the general through line? What's the?
So I had my like vision meeting last week, and I was thinking. So what they told me is like all the books they're writing right now is like about with entrepreneurs is like leadership and AI, and they find this social media stuff so fascinating. They're like, what is influencers like? Is they're all Gen X, so they're like, I don't know how you became successful through influencers, like. To like, don't gatekeep, tell me. And I'm like, all right, this is what I do. And they're like, don't blink. They like find it so fascinating. But then I told my story leading up to it and like how I left my 9-to-5, how I quite literally walked out, how I like risked like everything, my spirituality, manifesting, and they like love my story. So it's going to be like me telling the story of just like my whole journey, which I didn't think they were going to want. I thought they wanted it to be more educational, but they love it as just like a whole like journey sort of flow.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We will definitely buy it.
Yeah.
Hey, you better.
Cool. And where can people find you online if they want to follow the agency?
So our agency is Zink Talent on TikTok and Instagram. And then my Instagram is Samantha Zinkovich. Good luck. I'm sure you'll type it out for them, right?
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. It'll be down there.
Good luck spelling that.
Cool. All right, Samantha, this has been awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you
much
so
fun.
much for coming on.
And you guys,
Appreciate
you guys are coming on mine.
Yes.
And now I want him on too. I feel
Okay.
like we kind of like good dynamic.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. In the meantime, check out one of our past episodes.